Moving on to the first item of our business agenda, introduction to ordinance number 829, proposed property tax levy. So back to Mr. Christensen and Ms. Green.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The purpose of this item is to adopt ordinance number 829 to establish the 2024 property tax levy. And for clarification, this is the existing levy that's already in place and on the books. In accordance with the city's financial policies, the 2024 adopted budget includes a 1% increase in the property tax levy. By state law, the annual amount of the increase is limited to the lesser of 1% or the percentage increase in the implicit price deflator, or otherwise known as IPD. The IPD rate exceeds 1% at 3.67%. Thus, the city is limited to the 1% increase for setting the property tax levy. The 1% property tax levy increase is approximately $50,000 in additional revenue. A homeowner with an estimated median assessed value of $566,600 will pay an additional $13.47. This will help to pay for key general fund services such as police and parks. In addition, it is key to maximizing the general fund's second largest revenue source to cover current and future costs, including inflation. Staff recommends placing this ordinance on the consent agenda of the next regular meeting.
We'll entertain a motion now for item A, ordinance 829. Councilmember Sarah.
I move to place this item on the consent agenda for the next regular meeting.
Okay. Is there a second? Does moved and seconded to move this item to the next consent agenda. So all those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye. Any comments? Go first. Councilmember Mata.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm for one that I'm tired of paying taxes. You know, I have a small business and it's tough. Inflation's out of control. I remember when I was growing up, you know, we could eat beans and we could eat eggs and potato. And sometimes breakfast in the morning with potato and breakfast with this chorizo at lunch. But I do believe that we have a structural problem in the state, and I call out on the state senators, state representatives. We got to figure out how do we fix the tax structure in the state of Washington. But for the city of Burien, you know, my properties continue to go up, and I know we pay the most property taxes compared to Bellevue. But at the end of the day, to be able to be a functioning city, we got to make sure that we can meet our budgets. Now, when we say, do we misspend money? I can tell you that we've won several awards several times of how we operate our budget. We operate our budget with a limited amount of staff. You know, our cities need more tender loving care with more sidewalks. And so I'm not the one that today is going to be voting happily for this, because I got to tell you that premiums are going up on my business. That little bit of utility increments are going up. And I think the gentleman that spoke today said it right. I mean, you know, I don't mind paying that money, but you know, how much do we get taxed? And so, you know, as we move forward in this budget cycle, I do think it's where do we do cost savings? We're about ready to go into 2024. For you, it may not be a recession. For me, it's a recession. I feel it. I'm in commercial construction, and the commercial market is in the tank. And I see other markets starting to tank, and we're in the middle of a war. You may call it a world war, but regardless, it's still hurting our ability to be able to have raw materials coming in for our businesses. Sugars have gone up. Flour has gone up because of the war in Ukraine and Russia. And so we got a problem, not only in our local community, in the world, in our state, and our federal government. We can't even get the Speaker of the House elected in a timely fashion. So today, I just want to let members know of the public, you know, I don't vote very happily about this, but I understand because our finance department has showed us that we need to have these funds to be solvent. And with the other challenges that we have confronting our community, of whether we're going to have long-term housing or shelters, I mean, this is part of the conversation. And for those of you, this is your first meeting, please don't come when it's in your backyard. Come at regular meetings, because the reality here is that I see people come when it's not in my backyard. And reality is we are going to have some tough conversations coming up in the next couple of months, beginning of the year. And I really enjoyed having a good perspective this evening of people's views, perspectives, and kind of what they're going through as it is. So today I'll be voting for this reluctantly, but I gotta do it because I have a fiduciary responsibility as a council member of the city. Thank you.
Councilmember Sarah.
That was beautifully said. Thank you. And I also want to thank city staff for taking so much time and so many repetitions to help city council understand the situation we're in and the necessity of doing this.
Other comments, Councilmember Moore.
Thank you. I just want to note that I certainly understand the burden that people face when extra taxes are put on them, extra fees of any kind. And our families are absolutely struggling. This is very true. Our city is also struggling as a whole. And as a government entity, it's our job to meet the needs of our community. And we're facing a budgetary shortfall. We are not being given a lot of options in terms of where we can make up the revenue that we need to maintain service levels as they are. That's not to address the increase in service levels that we no doubt will need as our population grows, as we have dire repairs that need to be addressed in our community as emergencies may arise. Like I said, we just don't have a lot of options being put in front of us, and it's unfortunate. I do want to draw attention to what this means in real terms, in real practice for our community. As you can see mentioned here, you know, there's a number in this agenda summary that says the estimated, a homeowner with an estimated median assessed value of $566,610 will pay an additional $1,347 to the city. I know that adds up. I know it all adds up over time. But I also just want to note that with the increase in every kind of service cost that we face, including police services, which is something I know a lot of people have expressed ongoing concerns about, the increased cost of basic park maintenance, road maintenance, sidewalks, as Councilmember Mata mentioned, we have to have enough money to keep the city functioning with just the bare minimum. And this is where we're at. This is what, after a long deliberation and consideration, this is where we're at. So I'm going to be in support of this. I ask our community to acknowledge the fact that we are in a tough spot as a city. Our city is facing a budgetary shortfall, and we're doing the best we can. Thank you.
Other comments? Okay. We have a motion on the table to place this item on the consent agenda of the next regular meeting. So all those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye. Councilmember Moore, Councilmember Mata, Councilmember Sarah. All those voting no, Councilmember Mora and Deputy Mayor Schilling. And I'm going to abstain. I'd like to see the rest of the budget before I vote on this item. So that is 3 yeas, 2 nays, and 1 abstention.